What is up, guys? It's Dan the Man, and today I'm back with a new tournament held here at Chess Zone. This is the August Melee. So, just like the action, Chess Zone hosts this sort of tournament style once a month, and it's a bit different. It's still classically rated, but it's shorter time control with 30 plus 5. So, it's definitely a quicker format. It's kind of resembling like a Friday Night Face-Off if you guys have played those. So, flagging's going to become more of a reality here in time pressure, but it's still going to be, decent enough chess to be considered classic, long enough chess to be considered classic. And I don't really play too many melees, so and also they do the sections different. They group the sections as U1600 and open, so above 1600. So definitely a lot more variety in who you're gonna play, which can be both good and bad. So in the first round, I'm paired against Andy Poon, who I normally wouldn't play in tournaments because of the rating gap, but for this we are paired. So he's rated around 1600, around 1579, and I'm rated 2008. I recently crossed 2000 again after the match against Brad. And if you guys haven't seen that, it's live streamed with commentary. So if you haven't watched that, if you want to go ahead and check that out, feel free to do so. But anyway, I'm happy I hit 2000, and I'm going to go ahead and show you this game, which I'm very proud of because I scored 3 brilliant moves in this game, and this was just like a very, very picturesque game that deserves to go on my shelf of best games I've played in a while. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and show you the game. So here I go with e4. Andy goes with c5, knight f3, knight c6. Let me turn the sound a bit. There we go. And here I go with d4, going into the open. So here he takes, I take back, and he goes with knight f6. And here I was getting the vibe that we would go into yet another Sveshnikov. In the match against Brad played the Sveshnikov, and I got into a lot of trouble after he seemingly gambited the pawn on b4. So I didn't want to go into any of that territory. But maybe he didn't know the theory of that, so it's fine. So anyway, knight f6, we go into a Sveshnikov. He goes with e5, so the characteristic move. And I go with knight d to b5. He goes with d6. This is theory. Bishop g5, a6, knight a3. We're both blitzing this out. b5, knight d5 to add some pressure. Bishop e7 to block. Takes. And here, instead of c4 like against Brad, I go with c3. Both are playable, but this is a bit more passive and reserved. You're not challenging the pawn on b5. You're sort of just, keeping it calm and collected, and you're going to maybe reroute the knight to c2 to e3 and just develop normally. So you're not really challenging black's position a bit. So here, a lot of people I see online go bishop g5, probably intending to keep the bishop pair. But here, Andy actually surprised me with a move, and I don't really know the Sveshnikov ins and outs, so I couldn't tell if this was if this was an opening blunder or not, but I guess not. He played the move knight e7, which to you experienced Sveshnikov players, you'll probably recognize that this is one of the moves, but to someone who isn't really a Sveshnikov player, I rarely go c5. This looks a bit dubious because you're seemingly allowing me to take this bishop on f6 and double your pawns, and where's black's king gonna castle? Queenside's really open, and once he takes back, I doubt that he's gonna castle kingside, because that looks very, very questionable. So anyway, the computer still evaluates this as even, so who am I to judge? So here I go with bishop to e2, just developing, preparing to castle, maybe trying to go bishop g4 and challenge the bishop on c8. Here he goes with f5, so I guess the point of this system is to, once you double the pawns, you trade off that weak pawn for my center pawn and sort of consolidate in a way. So he goes with f5, which apparently a bit inaccurate. d5 was a little better. And here I think about whether to take on f5 or play queen d3 and defend the pawn that way, and maybe prepare queenside castles. I wasn't really sure. Or maybe even bishop f3. let's see. If I played bishop f3, yeah, I didn't want to get hit with d5, so that's why I didn't go into this line. So let me just delete that here. Okay, so f5 after a few minutes of thought, which is actually, relatively speaking, quite a bit of time since it's a 30-minute game and not 60. So after I take an f5, he plays bishop takes f5, and here we each had about like 27 minutes on the clock. So here I, again, can do a lot of things. I can go with castles. I can go with knight c2. I can maybe play queen d2. I mean, it's a very playable position. I can probably play bishop g4. But here I decided to go with bishop f3, which Engine doesn't like. And I was trying to set a bit of a trap, because bishop f3 seemingly runs into e4, right? But if e4 were to happen, I was gonna play this. Bishop takes e4, seemingly hanging the bishop. And after this, I was gonna play queen d4, forking this bishop and this rook. And white's just gonna be in a much, much better position after the rook is saved. And I'm gonna be up a clean pawn. So I was sort of baiting Andy to go into this, but he was keen on that and probably saw it, and he went rook a7. D5 a little better, but rook a7 totally fine. Again, black's king comes into question about whether they can't castle queenside, and I guess kingside is still on the table, but it looks kind of questionable. So long term, I want to think about attacking black's king, but there really isn't any immediate way to do that. So here I go with knight c2, just focusing on positional play, since the king isn't really susceptible to being checkmated or anything. So here I go with knight c2. And here, yeah, Stockfish is saying to castle, but that looks a bit iffy, because as I said, the g-pawn's gone and it's a bit exposed over there. But here he goes with queen d7, which, okay, I mean, kind of a slow move, doesn't really do much. And I just continue with my plan, knight e3, hitting the bishop. And I was expecting Andy to save the bishop. Why would you allow the knight to take that bishop? Like, generally, you want to take the bishop if you can. So, yeah, I was expecting moves like bishop e6, bishop g6 possibly, but you would run into h4, h5, but just something that gets the bishop out of harm's way, right? So, instead, he went with rook g8, which looked a bit odd, because he's letting me take that bishop, and I kind of squinted at this, like, okay, I mean, that pawn's defended, there's not really any threat, so I go ahead and, with 22 minutes on the clock, I take on f5. And here I was expecting Andy to automatically capture back with the knight, because, if you take with the queen, you'd hang the d-pawn, because then there's really no other move. So, and here I was thinking after knight f5, I'd just probably castle or something. Well, let's go into a line. So if knight f5, I was actually also thinking about bishop g4, just to pin the knight. And I was probably going to play bishop g4, actually, looking at it. And even though material is even, I still like my position, because black's king, again, comes into question about how they can't castle at all now because the rook moved. And I would slowly build an advantage. So that was what I probably would have done if knight f5. But Andy spent like several minutes here, got down to 14 minutes, and played queen f5. And I'm like, what? That just leaves the d-pawn hanging. Now, I kind of hesitated, because like maybe he saw something that I missed during his long think, but I just didn't see the point. So I go ahead and take this pawn, right? I'm up a clean pawn now. Preparing to maybe long castle and bring the rook to the d file, and I'm also threatening queen b8 to win the rook. Although knight c8 can cover, but you get the idea. So queen takes d6. Engine says I'm totally winning, +3. And here, I guess this was Andy's idea. He played e4, probably intending for my bishop to leave the defense of g2. So he was probably expecting something like here. And after, I guess, rook takes g2, he probably saw that I don't have queen b8 because of knight c8, and this was probably what Andy wanted, because, he's hitting this pawn, and he probably judged mentally that he would get some good counterplay out of this. even though Engine still prefers white here. But what's the point of moving the bishop if you don't have to? And here comes brilliant move number 1. Long castles, queenside castles. The first brilliant move of this masterpiece. So the point is, I'm threatening queen d8 checkmate, so that bishop cannot be taken. And not only am I getting the king safe, I'm also bringing the rook to the d file, and also making space for this rook to come over. So, but most importantly, he has to defend the checkmate on d8. So he decides to do that with rook a8. And here, again, I can move the bishop and probably be better, but I was thinking about sacrificing again. I was thinking about whether to take this, which happened in the game, or to play rook he1. Both are good, but much fancier is bishop takes e4, because that's just another piece sacrifice. So this is the second brilliant move of this game. And I'm hitting black's position is just collapsing here. I'm hitting the rook. The e file is wide open. And all my pieces are going to come invading. So Andy's best choice is to accept the sacrifice. And my idea with queen takes c4 is to invite the last piece that isn't participating into the attack, rook h to e1, lining up on the queen, and threatening the knight on e7. Actually, I should mention, I thought after bishop e4, he could throw in a check. Yeah, but that doesn't really do much. I would have played probably f4, and yeah, white still has the same threats of the queen hanging and the rook hanging, so yeah, this wouldn't have cut it, so he pretty much had to take. So anyway, I invite the last piece into the party with rook h to e1, threatening a checkmate on e7, so he has to go somewhere that defends the the knight on e7. And the best way to do that is queen b7. Now, it might look like the attack is gone, right? Like, okay, are you going to maybe double on the e-file? Or maybe try to play f4, f5, f6? That kind of takes a long time, but black's kind of paralyzed, right? All those are too slow. Here comes the final countdown, the final brilliant move. Rook takes e7 check. Not only do I get my piece back, but I'm also going to be severely weakening the king. So rook takes e7, deflection tactic. The queen has to take, and the point of that was to go queen c6 check, and this is a fork, and once the king moves to... he didn't play this out, he resigned, but if the king had moved to f8, for instance, I would have taken this rook. King g6. I actually wouldn't have resigned here. I probably would have kept on playing for a few more moves. Queen takes a6. Andy didn't want to play this down 3 pawns and decided to call it a day in this game. So this actually didn't happen. He resigned right here. So yeah, we win this game. Very, very great game on my end. So if we look at the accuracy, I had a marvelous accuracy of 98.3. And Andy didn't play that bad either at 90.6. And yeah, this is just one of those... I rarely get 3 brilliant moves in one game. So this was like the cherry on the cake. This was the frosting that needed to go on. So yeah, this was a I'm very proud of this game. Despite it being against someone lower rated, it's still a very beautiful game. And I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. And stay tuned for the next games of the tournament. I'll be posting soon. And yeah, if you guys like this video, let me know in the comments. And yeah, have a great rest of your day or night. Bye.